I'll call to order the meeting, the regular meeting of the Leominster Conservation Commission for May 22nd, 2018. We're going to start with a continued hearing. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended. There'll be a public meeting to consider the request for determination by Moosonok Country Club regarding the proposed maintenance of a drainage ditch that traverses the golf course, address 40 Moosonok Ave, map 393, lot 1. Is there someone representing the applicant?
Jeff was supposed to be here.
All right.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
They told us last night that they'd be here.
Okay. Well, we'll see and move this up if they show up. All right. Move on to our next hearing. Or can we?
No, can't.
Can we move on to our regular meeting and discuss those items?
That we can do.
That we can do. So why don't we do that? Certificates compliance. Pleasant Street Solar. 199-1013. Where do we stand with that?
I spoke to Chris Dominguez this week, and they have finished all the repairs. These photos show. The berm has been put in. The flooding is non-existent, and there is some growth in the wetland replication area. But I would recommend giving it a couple more weeks for it to fill in.
Is this the new stuff that they did?
Yes.
Would you like to look? I mean, looking at those pictures, I would probably agree with you that looks like it's been fixed, but it's obviously brand newly fixed, I guess.
Yeah, it was done on Thursday, last Thursday.
Yeah, so I wouldn't mind letting it see if it grows in and takes before we issue that. In my opinion.
Is there any vegetation that we're waiting for to be established? Any grass or?
Just in the replication area, there's a couple, it looks like ferns that are coming up and some sedge, or some grasses that are coming up, but it's not really fully coming in. I think maybe giving it to the next meeting just to kind of see if it fills out.
And the roadway is not jurisdictional anyway, right? That erosion along the road?
Yeah, the roadway's not jurisdictional, but it looks like they repaired almost all of it with some riprap, and they put some new gravel down. I got my van stuck there one time, so they did a really great job with what they did.
Yeah, the road looked all right. Comments, thoughts?
Do we have to wait 2 growing seasons on that replicated area?
No.
No.
Because we
didn't.
looked at that, we didn't have that as a condition on there, so.
Didn't make the final cut.
It did not make exactly. Didn't make the final
Well, that won't
cut.
happen again.
So, would you like to wait to
I
have some
would.
growth? Okay.
Yeah, there's not a lot there in those pictures.
I mean, they can't turn on the array or connect or whatever, so that's kind of only.
Well, this isn't preventing that.
This isn't preventing this. This is closing it out so they can sign off on the financials.
Financing, right.
Fine, well, yeah.
That's it.
But they can still produce electricity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought they weren't able to do that.
No, this is just to close out their project, so. I don't think us waiting is gonna hold up their project other than on the financing side, which I'm sure they're not happy, but.
Yeah, I do know they do want to close it out, but I think we should wait for a little more growth.
Yeah, then that's fine.
Okay. You in agreement,
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting. I'm just curious on the replication area. There wasn't anything woody spec for that? It's all herbaceous, or
I'm sorry?
in terms of the specs for the replication area? Like I'm looking at what's surrounding it. I would have spec'd something woody in there as well, rather than just herbaceous type plants. So is that what the replication area called for?
I didn't see specific details on exactly what was supposed to be in the recreation area, but I can most definitely touch base with my predecessor.
But just double check that what's planted is what was specified, that's all.
right. You all set, Andy? Okay. Liberty Commons DEP 199482. What is, are these the old ones that are open?
Yes, they are closing out the 3 old orders. Let's put up here. 1942. Yeah, all 3 of them here.
Did they provide a letter from the engineer?
No, I believe the last meeting we spoke and said since they were so, like they were from such a long time ago, 10 years ago, that they did not need a letter from the engineer.
Right.
It was more just the housekeeping.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Are we sure that everything looks?
Yeah, everything looks good. There wasn't too many details as most of the projects were from
Yeah.
89, but there wasn't anything that stood out. There wasn't any odd buildings or any damaged areas when I was on site.
So you've been on that site, walked around, and
Yeah, everything.
it looks as what the NOI or
Yeah, it looks like it
What's
was kind of
from
why I
89?
advanced it a little further, but they
okay.
all look like what they followed the plans.
Okay. And that's for 199, 482, 691, and 469.
Yes.
All 3 of them.
The only, typically,
Yeah.
whenever we've had projects, we've always asked at least for a letter.
Okay.
So by letting a larger development, not do it, we're kind of setting a precedent that we don't, is that something we just don't require going forward? You know what I mean?
Well-
Like, we're asking homeowners to do it, for their 2-bedroom,
Those would be on
3-bedroom
relatively
ranch.
recent jobs. This thing is,
No, but we've had some outstanding ones where we just ask for a engineer to come out and just verify that everything's, in place. So if we don't do it now, then we're setting a precedent for going forward. So if everyone's, I just want to make sure that
We're not setting
We're
that
not-
precedent.
yeah, if that's how we're going to do it, then we can do that in the future. But I just don't want to be telling a homeowner, 6 months from now that they have to go out and get that letter. If, a condo complex that can split it 180 ways or,
Right.
however many units are.
Question, comment?
Yeah. So, like it was mentioned, these are very old, and even if you read through the other conditions, there are things such as the as-built plans for the utilities, the grading, there's some other items in there. There's going to be a pretty big expense to probably comply with that at this point. Not that expenses are a big concern. But the other side of that is where it is a condo complex or multi-unit housing, whatever. My experience with this is a lot of times banks, buyer attorneys, things of that nature, they're not too concerned with that being on the title. So I think if we ask for all these things for them right now, just may walk away and who cares. The benefit to us issuing it, if everything looks okay otherwise to the site, is if there is that rare hiccup that somebody's trying to sell their unit and run into this problem. And the first thing they'll come running up to Angela all upset. Nobody's ever required this before. All these units have sold. Now some bank that really wants to dot the I's and cross the T's and it's holding them up. I don't think enforceability-wise we could really enforce the order at this point. I think too much time has gone by on that end of it. So either we issue it, or I think if we ask for more, nobody's going to care. Personally, with the older ones, I like to at some point just see the titles get cleared up. It just makes it easier for everyone.
But we have a lot of condo complexes that have these outstanding, and not necessarily all of them were done correctly.
Yeah.
That's the thing, so.
So I
That puts the burden on us.
I took the time to read through all of them and see what was there.
Yeah.
I've looked at other stuff that's recorded at the registry. I didn't visit all the sites, but at least I went through the satellite imagery over the years just to see what happened. Nothing stuck out to me like, oh geez, we really got to address something here. Clearly, if that's the case with another site, you do that. You won't issue it.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think you're setting a precedent by doing this. I mean,
Okay.
everything we do, I think, is a case by case, depending on the circumstance.
Yes, all right. Yeah, if you're comfortable with it. I mean, that's the big thing, is I know not all of the things that are built here are built as planned and as designed. So I don't want there to be something that's a precedent that's set that says, oh, well, this is an old project too. So,
And then I'm not sure what, if anything, we're using to track these, but maybe if nothing's in place now, you simply start a spreadsheet with, okay, this permit was issued today. So 3 years from now, if you haven't been checking on it for some reason, whatever, at least right before it's gonna expire, geez, I really need to look at that site and make sure they got their certificate or something like that. That way you don't run into any issues trying to enforce it later on.
Yeah, we do have we had paid for a database somebody had built that did all that. Once you enter the data, it would, you would able to pull reports and stuff.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it
maybe-
doesn't even need to be that complicated. If it's not done and you want to do something simple, you're looking at 2 or 3 column page.
Yeah.
Here's the project, here's the day it was issued, keep it on the radar.
Yeah.
Other comments or questions? What would you like to do, Mr.
I'm
Chairman?
fine with it. I mean, I just wanted to make that, I know not every project is gonna look exactly how it was designed. This one does, so, I'm fine with that, but I just,
No, I agree with you about setting precedent, so. I mean, I have no problem issuing the COC, as long as the majority of the board as well, so. I've been to that site a couple times and I've walked around it a little bit, but it looks in pretty decent shape and what they've done and stuff, especially with them coming to trees. I appreciate them taking that effort and stuff, so.
yeah, and I'm comfortable with this site, and that's,
Yeah,
like, my problem wasn't with this site, it's with
future
potentially other
sites.
sites, yeah.
Correct, so. All right, we'll do these one at a time. Do I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for Liberty Commons DEP 199-482?
I'll make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 199-482, Liberty Commons.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Do I have a motion for Liberty Commons DEP 199-691?
Make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for Liberty Commons DEP file number 199-691.
Do I have a second? All in favor? And lastly, Liberty Commons DEP file number 199-469.
Make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for Liberty Commons DEP file number 199-469.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right. Before we move on to the next one, I noticed a new gentleman came in. Are you from Nexamp?
I am.
All
Yeah.
right. We've already got to your project and some of our hearings
Yeah, that's.
kind of went. Angela has visited this site. A bunch of photos were generated here. It looks like the site's in pretty good shape. Stuff is starting to grow. We'd like to continue. We don't want to issue the certificate of compliance tonight. We want to at least give it 2 more weeks for growth. And then if everything looks like it's coming in, we'll probably issue it at our next meeting, was what was discussed. Because it looks like all the work has been completed, erosion's been taken care of, and the replication area has been replanted, so.
Okay, so you're happy with the way that things are done, but you want to give it 2 more weeks to make sure it actually grows.
Yeah, I mean, normally we actually ask for 2 growing seasons, but that was not in this order. So we are in the growing season, obviously, so we'd like to make sure that what's planted is growing and is going to take, and then at that point, overall the site looks good. We just want to make sure that what's planted, especially in the replication area.
Okay.
And we do appreciate all the work you guys did to fix the roadway and the erosion and everything else, so.
Okay.
We're pretty happy. We just want to see some growth.
Okay.
I don't think you need to come to the next meeting.
Okay.
I'm sure Angela can let you know once we sign on it, and issue the COC, and we should be all set, so.
Sounds great. All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, 375 Harvard Street, DEP file number 199781. I'm assuming this is the old NOI that nothing got done.
Yeah, but nothing got done on it.
other than the filling.
Yes, it is.
Is that all that got done from that NOI? I think that's from all that discussion on Harvard Street, that was the only thing they
Yeah,
did.
the wetland filter, quote-unquote work done.
Right. Okay,
Yeah, that's all that they have.
that's all they have?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they did get a letter from an engineer for this one as well.
Okay, and what does that state? You don't need to read the whole thing, but.
This says, this order has since expired, portion of the work has begun, but remains incomplete. There's a new notice of intent. DEP file 199-1069, and that order of conditions will supersede this order.
Okay,
And they, Mr. Cleves from Whitnam Bingham had already filled it out, and it says invalid order of conditions and had that X off in the form.
okay.
May I see the form, just so we...
Any discussions while Mr. Stone is reading that?
It says it's an invalid order?
Yeah, that one
It's
is,
not invalid. Oh, well, it's expired, but
it's
that's not,
expired.
it's not invalid. Unless that's just... I mean, it's no longer valid, but usually invalid has a different connotation. So.
Right.
What did the order of conditions entail?
There was, and I don't know the entire list.
Right.
There was a detention basin. There was,
In the same spot as what's being proposed now?
I think, in the approximate
Roughly.
same spot,
Yeah.
yeah. There was that addition he talked about. There was, I believe, some filling to be done. There was quite a bit of stuff in there. That's really not getting addressed in the new NOI that we just issued. Remember that wet meadow that was up there?
That's up on, yeah.
Was that part of that NOI, or was that a whole
No,
different?
that's totally separate.
That was a totally
They had
separate
a
issue.
Yeah, they were mowing that wet meadow for a while, so they actually got a
Enforcement
order for
Okay.
that, and we got them to stop doing that. And then they came in to do the addition after that.
Okay. So, it was just a lot of site work overall, and I know part of it was filling in those areas. And
But they
then,
claim it's not a wetlands, it's just a septic culvert.
yeah, but, so, basically they filled it in, never did the replication, and now they're gonna do the replication under this NOI. So to me, and again, I don't know all the legal steps, but we're issuing, or being asked to issue a certificate of compliance on a part of the NOI that really went above and beyond what I thought was, because they filled in a lot.
Yeah,
Do
they
do
did.
you know what I mean? So it's kind of
I've
like,
seen the satellite pictures.
we gave them an NOI, obviously the old commission, whatever at the time was,
Mhm.
they decided we're just going to fill in this wetland, or we're going to fill. I don't want to say fill in this wetland. We're going to fill this area, and then we're just going to walk away and let this expire, and then we'll come back and do another NOI. So
So,
I guess I know it's a legality thing about closing one out to start a new one, but to me it irks me a little bit when you kind of did something that we kind of gave you permission to, but you didn't follow it all the way through. You just did the bad part and then walked away from it. So
well, they didn't do anything that they were given permission to do.
Yeah.
They did what they wanted to do.
yeah. So
Do we know if they recorded the new order?
David, sorry, I can't really.
Do you know if they recorded the new order?
I haven't gotten any paperwork on that
I
yet.
don't see it either.
Yeah.
So I would make this simple. If the new order is not recorded, we don't issue a certificate on this one yet.
okay.
Because that new order has requirements in there. And I think we added language that the order of conditions was the result of enforcement action. So
Yeah.
that people, if for some reason the current owner wants to sell it, people seeing that, we realize this isn't a voluntary order of conditions where somebody can say, opt out, I'm not constructing.
Right, I'm not
this."
gonna do this,
It's-
right?
Right. I think once that's recorded, I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not concerned about releasing the old one, but having that new one there is really what's
Right.
important.
I guess that's fine.
I just checked the registry, I didn't see it looking
Okay.
quickly, so let's get confirmation that it's been recorded. and
I'll
then-
give them a call tomorrow.
When was that issued?
The old order
No, the new.
at our last meeting was when we signed it, so 2 weeks ago.
Two weeks, and it's still not recorded.
11th or 12th, but there was an issue where the post office, it was addressed to 375 Realty at 6 Miriam Ave, and they sent it back as undeliverable, so Anthony Cleves came up and picked it up in the office
Okay.
to give it to them, and I spoke to them about it.
Okay. Yeah, I, that's fine. If you guys want to wait, I don't have a problem with prolonging the site. Just because of all the issues over there, so. Just keep it on the agenda for next meeting, Angela, if you could. 98 Sac Boulevard, 1991049, the Tesla site.
This one will be continued. There was still waiting for some growth. There's also some damage to the site that Whitman and Bingham needs to address before.
Okay. Perfect. Continued. All right. Are you from Winoosknock?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I've been straight from work. Yes, I appreciate your guys' patience. I'm sorry.
Do we have a problem going back to the hearing?
We
All right.
finished that.
I appreciate this.
That order, that agenda item is finished.
Yes,
correct?
certificate of
This
compliance,
will be
let's go through.
back.
Yeah. All right, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, there'll be a public meeting to consider a request for determination by Winoosknock Country Club regarding the proposed maintenance of a drainage ditch. 40, address is 40 Winoosknock Ave, map 393, lot 1. And you are representing the applicant.
Yes, I am.
All right, I know we had a site walk, which unfortunately work called me away for. I could not attend it. Who was at the site walk?
Myself and Paul and Matt Morrow.
Okay, and what did you witness and/or would like to discuss?
We spent our time going along the entire brook area that they want to excavate out, but we also went up above the brook as far as the lot line would permit us to do that. It's an adjacent farm that's up there. And we went down to the furthest end, where the culvert goes under the street and I guess stays as a culvert all the way down to the National River. In the brook itself, there is wetlands vegetation, as you would expect. It's fairly well filled with silt. In fact, some of the bridges that traverse that brook for the golf carts is no more than this much clearance between the silt and the vegetation and the bridges themselves. Cleaning it out could be an issue. I mean, it's right in the middle of the golf course, so I'm kind of puzzled as to how trucks would get in there, equipment to take the material out, and then where it would go. We talked about that last night on the site. I think there was some interest in using the material elsewhere on the course, but most of it's going to be like black soup when it comes out of there. It's not going to have any kind of tensile strength. It's just going to spread.
Mhm.
So, and I didn't have the ability to calculate how much would come out.
Right.
And there's a lot of material. I mean, it's the whole length of the course.
Now, is that, basically you're asking to clean that brook out? Is that what this RDA is for?
I'm not sure if brook is the word or drainage is the word. I mean, I just don't, and I'm referring to Paul here. And I appreciate you guys coming last night too, Angela and Paul.
But you'd like to clean that out as well?
We've got to do something, and I think these guys would tell you when they were there that it's quite obvious that we got a big silt problem, and a lot of that took place after there was a lot of trees taken. It's in 2 years, I think I told Paul, in 2 years we've lost probably 2 feet of that brook in some places, maybe a little bit more, and it's pretty much all silt. we had a further discussion last night, I talked to Chuck, the other guy, and we were thinking more about putting the stuff off to the side. We can get a rubber tire, like a small 1 ton down there. It's labor intensive, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And the backhoe, and just gonna clean it up. And we don't have no desire to change the profile of anything that wasn't originally there. There's quite a bit of stone, there's a little bit more stone showing now than it was earlier in the year. You can tell at one time that when they made the drainage ditch, one of them there's still a grate on it, and it was all stone, and it goes underneath one of the fairways. And then it's all stone on the sides, but all the grass is pretty much grown over it, probably exactly the way you'd want it to grow over it. So we're just looking to do some drainage. What's the word I'm going to use? We just want to get it back to where it was 2 or 3 years ago before we had what was going on.
Where's
up
the
ahead of us.
silt coming from?
A lot of it's coming straight down it's coming down right from the tree line. The worst part we've had is where Paul, it's probably from a stone wall on what I would consider the north side of the golf course, probably a good 150 yards down. All of a sudden the silt's building up because you're reaching a flat spot, and because the drainage is inside that silt, okay, we got water permeating through the ground on both sides.
Right.
So it's just not going anywhere. It's not draining, it's not doing its original job, is what I would tell you.
So the silt is basically coming from the adjacent property, is what you're saying?
I can tell you that before those trees, without saying that, before those trees were taken away, we never had water problems there like we do on the first hole it is adjacent, which goes up there. And that ditch has never looked like it does now.
Okay. Is it a drainage ditch, or is it,
Well, there's a flow to it. I mean, it's been wet and it is flowing right now, albeit slow. And there's evidence that some of the flows, perhaps back in March when we had those big nor'easters, they were quite the flows. I mean, there's a lot of evidence that you could say there was probably that entire channel might have been filled. Looked at what's left of the channel. Some places the channel is almost flush with the course.
is it? Okay.
The biggest concern that I would have, as you look at the channel now, there's some wetlands vegetation on the bluffs of the channel. And to not disturb that and be able to get in and excavate the channel out the way I foresee you want to do that, without doing harm to that vegetation, is going to be labor intensive. So I don't know. My back wouldn't last 5 minutes doing it.
I heard you volunteered.
No.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're looking for an RDA, so I guess we have to decide, is it, I mean, wetland vegetation can grow in areas that you know, if you have a pond that you made and keep it active and it still has some
I'm listening.
vegetation. I guess it just comes down to,
We've
is
had,
it gonna
yeah.
be harmful?
We've had cases in the past where we had the same issue. All of it, like North Leominster is famous for this. And the way it was explained to us is if somebody digs a ditch
Right,
that remains a ditch,
right.
then it's considered a drainage ditch. But once it starts to develop a bank, and it like usually you dig a trench,
Right.
but once it starts to curve out and you get an established, stony bottom, and if it connects two resources, then it becomes a
It
stream.
becomes a stream, okay.
And
I mean, I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out is,
yeah, it depends what's upstream of it. That's really what it comes down
Right.
to.
because if it's truly drainage and they've been working on it, even if it hasn't been touched in 2 or 3 years,
It's still.
it's still, is it a stream or is it a drainage ditch?
Is there a wetland system above, at the higher end of?
I think Paul, Angela would probably have a better feel for what was above it. We walked.
Just discussing that now.
Because it,
So Mr. Merwin said there was not, but when we were there on site, we did notice some vegetation, but it's very interesting, the vegetation up there.
At the
There's a lot
top,
of-
where
Yeah,
this water's coming from.
yeah, there's a lot of upland vegetation and trees which kind of surrounds this area where there's ferns and jack in the pulpit and a couple other, species, some sedges. So it's very difficult to kind of say.
Okay.
Can we get
You want to
a,
say something?
We didn't use an auger. We didn't have the auger, so we didn't do any soil digs. But I saw enough vegetation above this culvert that would indicate it's wetlands.
did Mr. Morrow do any kind of wetland, like, report or any field, like, documentation
I
or?
know that Kent couldn't be here tonight. Between him and Mr. Marr, there's some paperwork. I haven't seen it yet,
Okay,
okay, truthfully, but there's paperwork there. I couldn't tell you exactly, and I tried to stay as far away from the conversation because it's not my expertise
Yeah.
last night. I mean,
typically what happens is like when a wetland scientist gets involved is they put together like a one-page document.
I'm sure there's probably one with Kent's stuff, I would think.
Okay, and that's, I think, what we need to be able to evaluate, because then we can look at that, then we can go out and look at,
Sure.
either confirm or deny, like,
Because if we say it's a stream, it's one issue, and if we say it's a drainage ditch, it's
Totally
another.
understood.
And if we go the wrong direction, we either hurt you or hurt the environment. If it's a drainage
Right.
ditch, great for you, but if we could be,
Yeah, the only
Disturbing
thing that I'd like to
resources.
add to this is until, and they didn't encroach our property, but you could argue that what was done up there was, I'm not saying it was in the dead of night, but it was done in about a 2-day period, and we've never had that before. And that, you can imagine now, you've got a whole sod field up there. Okay, there's nothing growing there till the corn comes, and it's flying onto the property. I mean, where we walked out into the driving range, which is the farthest point Paul was saying, when we were up on the, that's never been as wet as it is out there now. So I don't know. I'm not, it's not my expertise. I do know that I've been told that we've had challenges there before where we'd have overflow because we've been asked to clean the thing out before. And we've been told to clean it up before because we've had problems with, we're overflowing and it was almost going up over the wall. I think the other one, Paul, a little farther west was, but we've actually had times there where there's been a breach. And I don't know if it was in the last 10, 15 years, but I know my discussions with Ray Racine were, keep that thing clean. That's what he told me. So,
right,
because, as some probably past history, I think Battle Point was Boston.
right. Yeah,
there was a time when you guys, the golf course came in before, and I believe it was required that the silt be removed.
mm-hmm.
It had to be removed, and the DEP got involved just for guidance, and because it was, it might have been in a different section, but it had to be restored, but
I want to say it was more
we had to restore
down
the
by
bank.
the road.
The bank needed to be, they wanted to ensure that when it was done, that the bank was restored to the correct elevations and the same material.
Right.
So the silt was removed, but they couldn't just, they could only go down so far. And
I remember in the last 8 years since I've been on this board, I think it's the same ditch/brook down by the road. I think if that's where I wish I could remember more specifics, but.
If you were to go up Main Street, take a right onto Burridge Ave,
Mhm.
and there's a house on the right, there's a street on the right, and it's not Watson, I don't know what it is. But if you look over in the yard there to the left, you can see where that culvert, underground culvert, absolutely is, because it's breached before. Because you cannot see, there's no grass there.
yeah, there was an elderly gentleman, and the water was going off of the golf course property.
Probably.
Because it couldn't, that
Was
culvert was just inundated, and it was literally running over his property and washing out his lawn.
Right.
So the golf course agreed, they wanted to help, so they cleaned it out
Right.
at their expense. I remember that, and DEP advised us to make sure that the bank was restored to its original elevation, and that the material was restored.
I believe I remember all that, you're right. Right.
But
Because we remember we talked about the bottom of the brook
Yeah.
/ ditch, stony bottoms and stuff, that's right, that's right.
But that's, I mean, maybe we have the file on that.
Yeah.
I can look and see.
It-
Yeah, we have a very
it's-
large file in the golf course, so I'll have to look
Okay.
through it.
Yeah, that was, from if I remember right, it's in the last 5 to 7 years,
5 to 7 years.
somewhere in that vicinity, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you could definitely get any information from Matt Morrow and
Yeah,
Ken, just as a member of this board, I don't want to classify it something that it's not, because it could hurt you later on in your
I appreciate,
process.
yeah, I mean, we've,
So,
I think what happened is we tried to do the right thing. And I appreciate the fact this is all going on. We don't want to do anything. We're good neighbors.
Right.
Okay, over there, I don't think you could find people that, don't think that we're not responsive. And we
Right.
just want to do the right thing. I do know that if we ever did have a breach, I mean, if we ever had enough rain, and like Paul said, this place is where it was really running here in March. I'd hate to see if everything washed all at once there now, just from the city standpoint a little bit, or even ours too,
Right.
But,
yeah, Burridge Ave would be underwater.
yeah, well, actually, it'd probably be down closer to Watson Street and whatever, all of those down there.
The culvert's limited capacity there though.
Right.
That's not the stream channel. The stream channel can hold a lot more water than that culvert.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
yeah.
is 24-inch.
Yeah.
Looks like it.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So just looking at the aerial and hearing from Paul what he saw out there, I mean, I think it's a jurisdictional wetland that channels the stream, because you do have the vegetation at the headwater of it. So you do towards, just to the north of the, well, I think it's a separate parcel that's still part of the club. But from what I'm hearing, there's a swamp right there, and there's a catch basin type device with a pipe coming out of that flows into the.
On the other
into that
side of the
channel.
stone
Yeah.
wall, that's correct.
Yeah, so that would make that technically a jurisdictional stream. I'm still leaning towards, I'd like to see you do work under an RDA, just because of the situation and wanting to get it corrected sooner than later. I do agree it's not a good thing to leave it like that. If you do have the amount of sediment, unfortunately I couldn't make it Monday, but if you do have the amount of sediment that's described there, you want to free up some of that channel capacity.
Absolutely. Well, I've actually, I mean, I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn here, but I've opened up some of the drainage there at one time.
That's,
With a shovel,
Yep.
Yeah,
because I was
I
sensing
would
that it
expect
was too
anybody
high.
would probably.
That's
You know, and I
Yeah.
went down there and I was like, ooh, if we really have the big rain here.
gonna be in trouble,
So,
right?
and Paul's absolutely right, I'm 61 years old, I wasn't doing it for a long time either. Okay? So,
Okay, so my take on it is I think it's jurisdictional, but I'm not necessarily opposed to doing it under the RDA still, just because of the nature of the beast at this point. What I am concerned about though is preventing it in the future. So that's going to involve probably some best management practices from the club there in protecting that drainage inlet, as well as, I mean, it looks like there's a potential for a ton of sediment off-site to the north coming down onto that piece of property there. So it may mean reaching out to them and make sure that they've got BMPs on site around those fields. I don't know what they're growing, I'm not too familiar with the area. I don't fight North Leominster traffic unless I have to, so I'm not up in that area often. But, you know, and I've seen this where I work, you have a lot of farmers' crops. Usually in my case, it's getting into roadways instead of abutting property drainage, and just simply installing erosion control on the edge of the field or other things just before it gets to the edge would prevent a lot of bad things from happening. So if those are just wide open tilled areas waiting to grow and you get a rain event and all that mud's flowing down, that's something that can be easily prevented. We don't want to see you have to constantly clean it up if it's not coming from your site. So can we look into seeing who those owners are and just see if we can start a cordial conversation with them to...
Do you have the lot number or the, and you can identify the property?
Well, there's a number of parcels there. They're all on Jocelyn Street.
It's probably all that farm, I would think.
I think that, try 135.
135, okay. Just want to make sure I get that down. I'll take a look and I'll contact the assessors as well to see.
And I guess moving forward with the restoration here now, I think I mentioned this when you were first in, if I'd like to see just some kind of a protocol from as soon as you go in there, dig that out, what's gonna be in place as a BMP right there in the stream, just to prevent it from washing away. You know, I'd hate to see you go in there, expose that, loosen up everything, and then you get an unanticipated 3-inch rainstorm, or, I mean, even less than an annual can cause problems, so it doesn't
Yes.
need to be that much.
Okay, in my terms, are you thinking about, once we do something along these lines, and bear with me here, I think what you're asking me to do is do something to protect the viability of the bottom of the trench? You know,
Well, it's,
well, the whole side too, but you know what I'm saying, the bottom is where,
And it may not need to be in the whole,
like stone or
the whole
something?
length of the stream, it may just be in sections.
Okay,
So, I would talk to your consultant about that, see if you can think about, and just use the term best management practices
okay,
to keep that channel from eroding. And, you know, if he wants to, or feels it's necessary to debate the jurisdictional part of it, we'd love to hear from him too. From what I'm hearing and seeing, I think it's jurisdictional. From what I'm telling you, I'm not so concerned about that, because I still want you to do the work anyway, but
Right.
I don't know
Appreciate it.
how everyone else feels, but that's,
No, that's why I said I don't want to say, yes, it's a stream, and then
yeah.
say, now we have to go NOI in the whole. That's why I didn't want to, I guess, without more information.
so I think part of what Brett was gonna bring in here was a proposal for like annual maintenance there, so we never get to this point again, you know, with all the silt.
Yeah, and that's, some sort of maintenance program, or, which is kind of the BMP type thing about, hopefully if you do it right the first time, you shouldn't
no.
have to
No, it
be
shouldn't have to
doing it.
happen.
That's kind of the
But I
point, you know?
just, yeah,
My thought on that is, I think you're addressing a situation that can be stopped at this point.
okay.
Something
No,
can be
that's
prevented.
fine.
So let's try that first. If for some reason, if your site's in compliance and everybody else is in compliance, and for some reason you're getting silt and we don't know why, then we can look at putting something
I
on paper
understand,
that would
right.
give you.
I get that.
Yeah, but I, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like there may be an issue next door contributing to this, and if that can be prevented, let's prevent it. That street drainage is a straight shot to where afterwards, the Nashua, or?
The Nashua.
Yeah.
The Nashua, correct?
There was discussion there, I think it's a national, but I always think of
I think that's what Matt
Brook down near
said.
Searstown, I mean, is that national? That's not.
That's national.
That is the national, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Lunenburg guy here, I lose track of the national,
Yep.
but, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not far from where.
Yeah, well, I gotta
Burridge
figure that's
to
exactly
the
where it
National.
goes.
Yeah, I don't believe it daylights at all out in that area.
I don't think so.
No, Matt said it was contained.
There was a lot of
all the way down.
man-made ones, I know when they did the train station.
I know they
and
did the
stuff.
train station, there was a thing underneath the
Yeah,
train
they were
station.
hand, yeah.
There was a lot of, so you think you're right, so.
And if somebody involved with the site, whether it's you or someone else, can just keep in the back of your mind that, we're due for a heavy rainstorm tomorrow, the next day,
Yep.
whenever, walk that perimeter, see what's happening.
I was down there earlier tonight, about 4 o'clock, and I kind of I didn't take a walk around the whole thing, but I was thinking exactly what you're saying, so.
So, it's hard to sometimes guess exactly what's happening when you're not out there in the middle of it.
Yep,
But yeah, so I would say, talk to Matt
Yeah.
and Kent, and just,
yeah, I keep calling, Brett, I apologize.
it's all right.
It's a long, goofy day.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree, and I think he said it more eloquently than I'd rather do it on an RDA than go the next route, because I think
Appreciate
it's
that.
more important to get it taken care
Yeah,
of.
that's, I think our goal is to get
But I'd
it
rather-
taken care of and keep it.
If it
taken
sounds
care
like
of.
it's coming from not off your site, from there, that should be addressed just as fast as
So,
cleaning
I guess
your
where, I'm
trench.
just wondering, Is this something that you people do? Do you approach the abutter, or do we approach the abutter about the silt fence or whatever we're going to do?
Our
to Angela?
conservation
Okay,
agent will
great.
make the first step just to say,
Sure.
you know, we have this issue, we need to have a discussion,
Thank you.
so. Because that will hopefully solve all your problem, or
I think it's.
a lot of your problems, we think. just
Solve a
from
huge part of the problem.
information.
From what I've been told, and I've only been there like 8 or 9 years, it's never, and I can just tell you that until that happened, that's the elephant in the room all the time. That's the thing that's changed out of anything we've done.
So it may very well be that that finger of forest may have been trapping the silt without it ever getting there, or getting there in smaller quantities in the past, let's say.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's all of a sudden the trees are gone, you've got this massive amount of water causing a problem. It's just that the conveyance is really what's the issue. If you've got nothing there to absorb the dirt that's coming down.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could definitely get this with your consultants,
I'm going
By
to
the
speak to both of them tomorrow.
June 5th meeting, you
Okay.
know, I think we'll have a better handle of which direction, so that way you can hurry up and get this taken care of. And hopefully we don't have a ton of rain before then, but.
Yes.
Yeah, if you could give us some sort of information on the wetland vegetation that we witnessed, and, you know, listed BMPs, and maybe in the meantime, we can discuss it with the abutting property.
Okay.
I think that'll be,
I appreciate.
would be
you
good,
guys' help.
so.
I appreciate you guys coming up.
All right, we'll continue to our.
I just want to be able to deliver some news when I go back, and I think this is, I appreciate it. It's more than fair, and I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay? Thanks you guys for waiting. Okay. Thank you. Good luck.
Gentlemen, which hearing or which would you like to discuss?
610.
We're looking at
610.
the 610 one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, before we begin the 610, well, not 610 anymore, but I'm an abutter to the property, and the applicant is also my father, so I'm going to excuse myself from being here.
Okay, thank you. All right, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, there'll be a public hearing to consider an RDA by Larry Giannakis Sr. regarding the demolition and construction of a garage as a director of butter of wetland resource area, address 147 Grant Street, map 474, lot 382-3. Someone representing the applicant.
Myself and the contractor.
All right. So what have you done and what are you planning to do?
Okay, well, the garage is 82 years old, and it's all wood.
Okay.
It's falling down. It's, they built the wood right into the ground in them days, and it's just caving in, so.
Okay.
I went to Matt and I put out a plan for me, and we went to the planning board, zoning board, and had to get it zoned because it was so close to the road. I
Okay.
had the engineer come up, Mr. Gaffney, and he put it all on paper for us, and I gave that to Angela. And all we want to do is tear the garage down and put a foundation up and put the garage back up.
Okay.
It is near a lake.
This is your property right here. I know it might be very
Yeah.
difficult to
Yeah.
see. This garage is in the front.
Yeah.
Oh, you got that. This is your property. This is the garage we're talking about.
Correct.
Okay. So all we're really talking about is construction
That's
of
it.
that block right there.
And that's about, I'd say, 80 feet from the water.
About 80 feet from the water.
Because there's a shed in the back, and we're going to delete the shed. Coming out 5 feet. We're going to put the shed back on. We're just going to put the garage. It should be on the plans too.
Yeah, it shows the garage is going to be a tiny bit wider and
Yeah.
a lot shorter.
Yeah, right.
Is this the correct plan we're looking at right
Yes,
here?
and the reason why.
This is the existing building,
When
and
it's-
then this is your new building.
Right, that's exactly right. That's the shed back there.
Okay.
It's not really square. They never built it square because it's 82 years old. It was a camp when I bought it.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So, and before someone gets hurt, we just wanted to get it repaired, and we want to make sure we're doing the right thing too.
I've never been on your property, but I've been by your property quite a bit.
Yeah.
It all slopes towards the lake, if I can remember right. Basically front to
Yes.
back and all. Okay.
Well, mine doesn't really.
Not essentially.
No, mine doesn't, no.
Where the garage is, it's kind of flat.
Right, but I'm just saying,
And then it
you know,
goes.
right.
Right.
I know up by the street it's pretty flat.
Yeah.
I'm just saying overall the property goes.
The low
back.
point is my neighbor's, my father's house next door,
Okay.
139 Grand Street.
Okay.
When you said foundation, you doing a slab or a frost wall, or?
What are you doing, Matt?
It's gonna be a poured foundation, then they're gonna put a slab in there so you can actually pull a car into it.
So it'll be a
Regular garage.
4-foot
Yeah.
frost wall foundation
Yeah.
with a slab built
Yeah.
inside. Okay.
Right now, it's a wooden floor.
Right. So what are you planning on doing with the excavates then?
It's all getting trucked out.
Trucked off site?
Yep.
Are you planning on, because I know it's a pretty small area, when you excavate it out, are you gonna basically, are you gonna stockpile it on site or?
No, it's coming out right
It's
into
gotta
a
come out right
truck. so
into a
you-
truck.
Exactly.
Okay. Any commission members have any questions or comments?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just a couple comments. I don't have an issue doing it under negative determination as long as we put a couple of conditions in there. One of them would be to install erosion control. Limit of the work there. There is a slope. I can see it's flat. We have the topography data in front of us, so I can see that it's flat where the garage is, but you do have some exposure going down
Right.
into that. So it would be nice to see erosion control in place there, as well as just to reaffirm that the excavates would be hauled from site, not spread anywhere on the property.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm fine with it.
I would definitely agree with the erosion control, yes. Any other comments or questions?
No.
All right. We're not gonna open it to the public, because we don't need to, do we?
You should just.
We should?
As a matter of
Okay.
procedure.
All right, does anybody in the audience like to speak on this notice of intent? Second time and third time. All right, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Do we have any recommendations, Angela? Or would you like the person making a motion?
I recommend doing a negative determination with the conditions of the erosion controls, as well as to confirm that the excavates will be removed from the site, as well as just notifying me beforehand, about 48 hours, just so I can inspect the erosion controls.
Do we want specific types of erosion controls? Or do we just want to?
Do you have a preference what you want to use?
What's
Whatever you want us to use, basically.
Cave.
A-Bills, that's fine.
Well, I guess we'll
Just
leave
let
that.
us know where you want it too, you know. Right. That way we can,
Pretty close to the property line.
It's
Yeah.
gonna
back of
be,
the
it's
garage.
gonna be very difficult because
I
it's a
know.
tight site.
So you may be looking at silt fence in some areas. You've got 8.5 feet here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, we just want to run it from like the house and up the property.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
Okay.
that's
Just
it.
in case if, while it's
Yeah.
There's a
excavated.
wall right here anyways, on that property up there, and a fence right
Okay,
here anyways, so,
Just
Pretty
so,
much.
yeah.
just block it, so in case if during construction, you
Yep.
know,
Yeah,
so
get a heavy
if
rain
it gets
or
heavy
something,
rain,
yeah.
we don't want
Yeah.
it obviously
I
down in the
understand,
lake.
that's one,
you
I didn't know if you want it down here, up there, whatever's easier.
and at the end of the day
Closer to
too,
the judge.
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're using hay too, you know, recognize that there may be some exposure in the front towards the street. So if you're done for the day and you know you're getting a rainstorm, you may want to put something on this side of it so it doesn't go into the street. 'Cause usually when it goes in the street, at some point, it's probably a straight shot to the lake.
Yeah.
Very good.
And so when we set that up, do you come inspect it or anything?
Basically, AJ,
Okay.
just
I've
someone.
never had to do this before.
No, that's fine. Someone just, before, 48 hours basically before, you want to set up the
I always
erosion
see it.
control.
Set it up before.
And then you just call her up saying, hey, we're gonna excavate,
Yeah.
you know, in the next couple of days, we're gonna start digging a hole.
Okay.
She'll come out and look at it and basically say, yeah, it looks pretty good, or hey, can you move this a few feet here and there?
Okay.
And then once she says you're ready to go, then
Very good.
you're off,
Perfect.
you know what I mean? So, it's
Thank
pretty
you very
easy,
much.
so. Any other comments or questions? All right, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we issue a negative determination for the construction of a garage for the demo and construction of garage at 147 Grant Street, with the recommendations of our agent.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Thank you. You are all set.
Thank you very much.
Make sure you have Angela's contact information.
Yes, yep.
I do. I got it down.
Any questions, just go directly through her
Yes.
or someone else you might
Yeah.
know on the commission.
Yes.
Perfect.
My neighbors.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Be like voted back in.
Yes, we're good. We can come back into our meeting. We don't want you to talk anymore, but you can come back into the meeting. This guy here. All right. Do we have any extension permits? Any new communications?
I was contacted by 8 Nutting Drive. Their erosion controls are in and they're looking to start work in the next couple of weeks. I did inspect them, but I did advise them to give me a call about 24 hours before just to go back and inspect if it's going to be a couple of weeks out.
Looked all right, everything looked
Yeah,
right?
everything looked good. They had put them in, they actually dug the sills in pretty far. The silt
Good.
fencing in pretty far. I was also contacted about 4 Samoset Drive. One of the abutters had some signs that were missing, wetland protection signs on the trees in the backyard, so I'd gone out and rehung them. That was from probably about 10 years ago. And the contractor at 4 Samoset Drive also brought up some issues where there's some encroachment of a shed within about 25-30 feet, as well as some grass clippings and tree stumps that are being dumped in the wetlands. This is
Okay.
Did I do this wrong? I did contact the abutters and let them know, I advised them that they should not be dumping the grass clippings there, as well as they should not be cutting up any tree stumps in the wetlands and leaving them. I also gave them information on when the town's yard waste collection is and when the transfer station is open to collect yard waste.
Okay. What's the site look like now? Have you been out there or?
Yeah,
just-
I was just out there yesterday. The house is pretty much built. They're working on selling it. There's some issues with the stockade fence on the order of conditions, and they're in the process of looking to amend it.
Okay. If you could keep us in the loop on that one,
Absolutely.
see what happens. Any other new communications?
No, sir.
All right. Minutes, April 24th, meeting minutes, I should say. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
I did.
I reviewed them.
I did not,
You did not?
no,
Okay.
I have them.
Mr.
I did
Sheehan?
get it. No, I did get it, I just,
No, I'm just
Mr. Stone, did you have a chance to review them?
I did.
Okay. You can simply abstain if you so choose, or
well, that's true, because there's some,
unless, I have no problem with them unless anybody
Do
else had
that.
an issue.
I saw one spelling change. I think it was bullet number 11 near the beginning. And I used the word polygon. I think they wrote the word polygram.
okay.
Or something different. So just change that.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I make a motion to accept the minutes for April 24th, 2018 with Mr. Stone's spelling correction.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? Opposed and abstained? All right. New business? All right, old business, 767 Willard Street driveway. Nothing new has come of that.
No, I did speak to the city clerk and they are working on getting an update, as well as I did speak to the mayor's office, and I'm waiting on updates.
Okay.
Just a quick question, do we want to pull some of these off if we're not going to be,
That's what I was just gonna kind of ask the question is, like we mentioned a couple meetings ago, it's kind of not, it's really up to the homeowner to resolve the issues, so.
right?
There's not much we can do other than,
I mean, if they're not going to come to us, or it doesn't sound like it's going to be in the near future,
right,
why don't we leave it off the agenda until
something comes up.
Angela might get some information or...
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Moose Brook retaining wall. Looks like we have something here.
So I attended a meeting with the DPW and with the engineers from Woodward and Curran. They are in the process of doing, the first step would be getting the compensatory storage in, and the second step would be the structural integrity of the wall. We are coming across a few different issues. The first issue being that they're having a hard time finding a place to take the compensatory storage out, as well as a matter to do it. The DPW doesn't have the correct machinery to do it safely, as they also don't have the manpower currently to do it, so it would have to go out to bid. They also did look into seeing if they could get the compensatory storage elsewhere, and unfortunately, just because their buildings are so close, it's going to have to be either we're going to have to take down a building to do it out of the stream, so the only viable option is within the stream, and they're just working on the logistics as well as setting everything up to go through that.
Me personally, I think it's the DPW does not have the equipment, so they don't want to rent the proper equipment.
Is this job better for a bigger contractor than the DPW?
Well,
that has
it's a matter of equipment. I mean, basically what we're asking them to do is clean up some of the deltas and do some storage issues. And they're, basically we're hearing we can't get in there with equipment. You can definitely get in there. There's excavators out there that they could rent that can reach out 70, 80 feet, 100 feet. I mean, there's long reach excavators. They probably don't have one of those currently with the city. So they're looking at it, how can we use our equipment? We're gonna have to tear up the bank's parking lot, and so it's kind of one of those.
But it's been a year, you can't just leave this forever.
Right.
I mean,
So it's kind of, the way I look at it is you could literally park an excavator in the parking lot of the bank
Right.
and put it into a truck. Get some guys down there but that's my feeling is they just don't have the equipment, so they don't want to spend the money to rent other equipment. Just to do the at least simple remediation of what we want step one to be.
But unfortunately, it's city. I mean, if it's city property and it needs to be maintained, and it's an issue. I mean, if it was a homeowner, we'd be asking the homeowner to do it. I mean,
Correct.
it's almost like we're giving a pass because it's the city, and we have to be looking at the environmental aspect of it and the flood control, and
when I hear we can't do it without demoing stuff, I find that very, very, I'd like to have a conversation with that person, because equipment exists that's readily available. It just means they'll come to the
Let's pay for it.
city to actually go out and rent it.
I mean, maybe they could
Like,
rent it for a day,
I mean,
do this, and then do something else with it.
whatever, but you know what I mean? You can definitely rent the equipment. It's
Right.
just, it sounds like they don't want to. They just want to use the backhoes and bobcats and items that they have under their control, but.
Which is
So,
understandable, I guess, but
which is understandable, but in the meantime, like you
Right.
said, it's,
waiting.
unless, it's either a much bigger project or rent the right equipment.
Understandable but not acceptable, it's gotta be fixed.
That's correct. So,
And it's been more than a year, actually. It
it
was
was in April.
early April of last year.
Yep.
I think it's also, excuse me, I do think it's also, it's like they really don't have the manpower to do it at this time, that they're a little short-handed this season, unfortunately, so
Right.
they are working with Woodward and Curran to try to get the plan expedited, and I did make it clear at the meeting that this has been quite a long time, they understand, and they are apologetic for that. So they are working on getting it done. I'm gonna touch base with them again tomorrow to see where the engineers are on drawing up the floodplain compensatory storage.
Okay. I guess before our next meeting, I would definitely like them to answer a few questions. One would be the timeline on fixing issue number one, which is the storage issue. Not, we'll figure it out, we'll get to it. Why are they hesitant on getting the proper tools or equipment? Is it a financial issue? Is it because it exists? What we're asking them to do is easily done and the equipment exists. So if it's manpower, I don't know all the rules about, like you said, going out to bid, and I know that that's a city issue. But I would definitely like answers to all those. And now Woodward and Curran are there. I know now we're looking at a whole wall reconstruction and a much, much larger project. I know they're not gonna tell us a timeline on that in the next 2 weeks, but
Just on the storage.
yeah. I think we should fix the problem that's currently exists until, because you're probably talking another, by the time they find the funds and the engineering and all that to fix the wall, so. And then, I don't know. I'd like to say when, a timeline on to fix it. How long is it gonna take for them to come up with the manpower? If it means going out to bid, how long does that take? You know,
Well, they may only need
We'll just-
they may only need a few quotes. I mean, I can't imagine this is gonna
that's what I'm saying.
reach the financial
This
level
is-
where it's gonna, but even if it went out to bid, I mean, that's not a long time either.
That's what I'm saying.
Compared to
I mean,
what we've
it's-
already,
It's, we're just kicking the can down the road. In the meantime, this could have been fixed a long time ago for relatively inexpensive money. I mean, it's city, like you said, it's city property, it's floodplain, it's the whole nine, so. I would like dates and ideas of, I mean, is the DPW, that's what their job is, to fix things, they should know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, I just don't want them to kick the can anymore, so if you could ask for specifics, or at least give us a reason why, if they say, well, we can't fix it. Just,
Could we just ask someone to come in? We could put them at the beginning of the meeting, and at least we could ask the questions
if, yeah,
to somebody
if
directly.
we could get somebody from
They might-
DPW to come in
They'll
here.
usually send somebody that,
You know, I don't know, this person been in the business 27 years, it's gonna be fixed in a day. Why is it a year later to ask to do what we're asking them to do, so. I would appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Comments, questions?
It should be done. Should have been done a long time ago.
Okay. All right. 66 Granite Street. that site walk has been put on hold. I do want to comment. I did some research of my own. Not that I'm sure some of you haven't already, and probably know more than I do. I looked under 310 CMR, section 10.04. And I read that on more than one occasion. And from my interpretation of that document, section B1 says, talking about normal maintenance of land under agricultural use. They are exempt on all crop management, but not to include drainage in a bordering vegetated wetland. So with that, they are in violation, in my mind, of that regulation. So whether it's water management, because it does talk about water management and moving stuff on your site and things like that in there, as long as it's not within a bordering vegetated wetland, they're not exempt. So at this point, my feeling is they are not exempt, so what they've done is not acceptable. So, comments?
My feeling is I would really need to reserve my opinion on that until I saw exactly what they did.
Okay.
I mean, I heard completely different things and without
Yep.
without actually seeing it.
And that kind of drew me to kind of this information along with some other information some people have given me. So, because one story, it has changed, but it's even then after reading this, it seemed like, because it did talk about when the property owner was here, he was talking about moving water around his site. And it did talk about that in here. And again, it's not inside a wetland, basically.
How did we find out about this?
He came to me to inform me one day that he was having a large machine on his property removing trees, and that he had to, and that conversation kind of snowballed into all this other work that he was doing, and he mentioned to me that there was also some drainage that he was putting in. He had to put in a catch basin he was planning on putting in a catch basin to redirect stormwater that's coming off the streets. I wanted to go out and check it out. He invited me down. I invited Paul to come with me, just have someone else there who has a little more experience. And we went down there, and he showed us everything that he was doing. He showed us, but he was actually already working on, almost done with the catch basin when I got there the same day, about 20 minutes later.
And just out of curiosity, and I don't want to take up a lot of time tonight. Just see if I can pull up the site.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would like to get there and to look, but I mean, I looked under agricultural. I mean, I read a lot about this discussion and this issue, and yes, they are exempt from a lot of things, but it seems like as soon as it gets into a wetland or some sort of jurisdictional body of water, those exemptions go away. So that was just my take on reading 310 CMR. So.
So you put the catch basin here with the trench that leads right to the brook itself.
Okay, so that's
It's discharging directly into the brook.
at least what you're describing doesn't sound exempt to me. That's a
Yeah.
great source. Yeah.
In the discussion the day I was with Angela on the site and the owner, his main concern was that the area where the catch basin was in the process of being constructed, the guy was right there laying the cement with the cinder block, that area was flooding due to water that was coming off of Granite Street. And he needed to keep his product there, which does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But the catch basin has attached appendages, infrastructure that goes right to the brook. So his intent was to take water that was coming off of Granite Street and puddling up in that area, which was prohibiting him from keeping his product there, to go into the catch basin and discharge directly into the stream. And then he took us over to Granite Street. and he showed us evidence of erosion coming down the embankment off of Granite Street, and that was his concern. The night he was in here, it was a different story. It was, excess water coming from the greenhouses or whatever it might be.
Right.
But the main intent, the day we were on the property with him, as he explained it to us, was to take excess water coming from that street and stick it in.
Nothing to do with his agricultural and farming.
Well, he said that it was flooding an area where he needed to keep his product.
Right, but it had nothing to do with his water on his site the day you were there. It was
The day we were
water
there, no.
entering his site
No.
and disrupting
Concern-
his
the
property.
concern was, water
Okay.
coming onto his property.
So, but, yeah, so I would definitely, I think he's in violation. Again, that's my opinion. I was not on site. Just from reading this and hearing everything I've heard, and I do know the site a little bit. I've obviously been there buying product,
Right.
I'd like to get on site as soon as possible so we can address this, because I think there is a violation here. And I think we should address it sooner than later. So if we could keep in close contact with Matt Morrow and see if we can get, ideally it'd be nice to get on there before the next meeting, get on site, and we're not too concerned of his future plans. We are concerned about what he's done most recently. So
Yeah.
if we can get him to address that before the next meeting, if we could get on site so we can take a quick look ourselves and go from there. But
So we're not even allowed on the site right now. So, I mean, it's gonna get to the point where if we're not allowed on the site, so that we can evaluate the situation, then at some point, I mean, do you just go ahead with enforcement anyway? Because someone has to go on the site, and it has to be evaluated by somebody, whether it's a DEP, whether it's us,
me personally, I would like to put enforcement in place tonight, but that's just my opinion. So, and it just sounds to me like other commission members want to go on site to make a better evaluation.
Right, but
I
we're not
respect
allowed
that.
on site, that's the problem. We've been
Right.
barred from
Right.
entering the site.
Well, but not, in perpetuity. I mean, I think they said just give me a chance to look at it and then.
Right, well, that's what I mean, so like,
So-
what if like by next meeting, nothing's changed, we're still not allowed on the site, there's been no progress, I mean, how long are we gonna sit on this until we do something, well, whatever. If we don't have any discussion, we're not allowed on the site, there's been no update from the property owner, then we have there's nothing we can do but sit back and wait, like, that doesn't seem.
Well, the fact of the matter is, we've been on the site. Our agent was on the site, I've been on the site, and the owner explained to me exactly what he did. So I would have no qualms going with an enforcement order tonight.
It's in place, right? The
Yes.
catch basin's
It's
built,
finished. It was done in a day.
the pipes running to the stream or brook or whatever. Yeah, I'm torn. I'd like to say enforcement tonight, but it sounds like Mr. Stone wants to go on site, and I would like to actually see it myself too, so. Do we wait 2 weeks, or do we put an enforcement? It looks like our agent would like to say
I just
something.
have a question.
Yeah.
Is it possible for me to, in my next communication with Mr. Morrow, to kind of give him a deadline? So kind of, set up the site visit, just so we can,
I
I don't want to,
I think we're definitely leaning towards a swift enforcement. That'd be my opinion on it, so.
Can we step back just one
Sure.
second? I've done enforcement with agricultural sites before. All these people, for various reasons, feel like they've been picked on by the number of government agencies over the years. So I don't want to unnecessarily give somebody a hard time, let's say, if they don't deserve it. So the way I look at it is to explain that all the work is done. So it doesn't sound like we have to put a enforcement order so that they're not going to go ahead and disturb
Right,
100 more acres of
right.
land or something like that. That whatever damage has been done has been done. Unless, of course, if it's a new point source right to the stream, well, that may be an ongoing issue from here on. But I do want to give the owner some time to consult with his consultant. He may be angry, he may be nervous, who knows? But anytime a board or commission mentions the word enforcement, and like he said he's extremely busy. I know those farmers are extremely busy this time of year doing that kind of stuff. It's probably the last thing he wants to deal with. So give him some time to work with his consultant. At least give him the benefit of the doubt for now. I haven't been on the site though, so I can say that. Others have, and they say, no, we need to do enforcement. But I just, from my experience, and again, I've issued enforcement orders to agricultural sites where they've had to go and restore the site. And then there have been other times where I've gone out there and ultimately they weren't doing anything wrong, even though, it really stretched the regs quite a bit in so many areas. And some of that takes time sorting through, but I'd rather just keep it friendly for now, and if he ultimately did something wrong, I don't think it has to be addressed tonight. I am concerned that there's a potential for a point source there with all of that exposed ground all around it. This isn't a paved parking area where catch basin was dropped in the middle of it. So it is an active agricultural site, and that's dirt.
Right.
And if that was just sitting in one area and puddling up and kind of moving back and forth without getting to the brook before, now it's not, that could be an issue. But I wouldn't be in favor of doing an enforcement order tonight. And if for some reason he keeps us off the property still and then doesn't want to address it in a timely manner, there's other people we can talk to. I mean, I know people in state level in agricultural. I know plenty of people in the wetlands and 401 side of things. And sometimes that's what it takes. As a local regulator, times they got to the point they didn't want me in the site. I sent someone from DEP. I had that particular owner go out with their agricultural people, let them discuss it, and work it out that way. I mean, that may be an option too. But I don't think any of us are really looking to give him a hard time. It's just if he's done something that's going to cause pollution, we just want to address it.
Right, and
At least communication, like at the next meeting, hey, I've got Mr. Morrow has been out here, we're working on a plan, can you give us until this date? That something is, would be better than nothing, at this point, I think. Because this could be something that just gets
and
dragged out
certainly
for.
emphasize, they said they want to do things in the future, great, but that's not what we're concerned about right now.
well, that's why I said
Let's look about what we
that
just
was
did.
made up as we want to
Yeah.
put together a plan for stuff in the future. We'll worry about that then. It's done and it's over. Let's just address this issue first and foremost, and then we'll worry about that later. If it takes 6 months for the later, then that's fine. But I don't want to issue enforcement myself just because I think there's better ways to do it. But if we're just going to kick the can down the road, yes, I do. Do you know what I mean? I don't want this to be come winter time, and you know what I mean? So if you could definitely reach out to Matt and see if, at least get some sort of communication, a timeline to say, hey, by the next meeting we'll have a plan, or we have no idea.
Yeah.
Just something hardened other than you can't go on the site, and we'll get back to you someday. If we can definitely get some.
What I don't understand is the lack of cooperation for not allowing other commissioners to go on the site. I don't get it. If there's nothing wrong there, if he feels as though he's exempt, then why is he prohibiting us from taking a look at it? I mean, I've seen him, so I don't need to go. And I think if the rest of you saw what the two of us saw, you would be issuing an enforcement order tonight. Because it is a point discharge right into the stream.
Can you see that catch basin from the sidewalk?
I think you can, well, with the product around it, maybe not. It's got all those trees around it now, so you might not be able to. But you might be able to. It's not that far in.
So I have no problem waiting 2 more weeks if we can get some sort of either a site walk or yes, we'll be at the next meeting for a plan, whatever the case may be, but
I can't remember, were there any pictures taken?
no,
There weren't.
not that I saw.
No.
And if we can just, we don't want to know about the future. We don't
Yeah,
want to know his plans for a year down the road. It's like, let's just make sure that what happened is okay,
Yeah,
you know, and like not worry about long-term. We're not looking to negotiate long-term contracts here. We're just looking to wrap up this one issue, you know?
right. Okay. Keep us in the loop, Angela,
Absolutely.
because this one I definitely am sick of things lingering on. Enforcement. 723 Willard Street. Where do we stand on our legal?
I got an update from the legal team on Wednesday of last week. They are looking into that one as well as 1145 Central Street,
Okay.
and they will get back to me as soon as they can.
What do they mean by looking into?
They're looking into our options and examining all the documents I sent them. I sent them the history on the file for the, from
Okay.
Joanne and before.
Okay.
When you say, excuse me.
Yes.
When you say them, it's the K&P law firm? Or?
Yes, Mr. John Gregorio.
I would personally like an update by our next meeting. And I know that's a lot to review, but if you could reiterate with them
Yeah, I did.
that this, especially 723, has been ongoing, and we're at the point where we definitely need guidance on the next steps to take, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
didn't the same law firm review this previously?
Yes.
So they're reviewing again?
It's the same law firm.
Maybe not.
That's all I gotta tell you.
Same law
I
firm,
don't-
different lawyer?
I don't know, I wrote the name down, I'm gonna have to look back on
Yeah.
letters and,
That package you sent them, you included a copy of their own letter,
I did.
so they know that.
So they know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's what I'm saying, it's the same law firm, I can't imagine it's gonna take them more than 2 weeks to review, so we can have,
Because there's nothing new in the packet.
that's correct.
So they're reviewing something they've already reviewed.
The only outstanding thing, if I recall, is that they wanted or suggested a formal vote of the commission requiring that it be removed. Because I think one of their comments was that they can't require it to be removed, only the commission can do that, and we did that.
Right,
We did vote
And we
that,
gave them
that's in
the
the
date.
minutes, yep.
yep, so that was on October 24th, 2017 is when that was voted on, so.
Very good. And I believe the date was May of this year.
So, I would definitely like a hard update by the next. Because like I said, it's the same law firm, I can't imagine that it's gonna take weeks to.
It's not, even if it was new, it's not a lot of work.
Right.
I've worked with a number of town councils on these issues, I mean, I used to literally give it to them, and then 2 days later, a letter going out to the property owner would happen.
Right.
It's not,
Right.
it shouldn't take long.
Maybe they could come to the next meeting and explain what they're doing.
Whatever
I mean, we
it
sit here
takes.
week after
Well, we
week
don't-
and we
we don't
get
wanna-
nothing. We
don't-
get nothing.
Yeah, you don't want to see you rack up endless legal bills and having
Yeah.
them come here, though. You know, we just have to, I think, rely on Angela, what she's hearing from them, and
Yeah,
I was gonna get them into, because the deadline on the legal request forms was for today. So I was gonna contact them tomorrow as my plan. If they-
Okay.
I was waiting until the meeting to see if they could, see you later in the day.
okay. And I would say the same for 1145. Just because that one's pretty simple, there's not a lot there, so.
Next meeting should be Sunday. We have a lot of information,
Well,
on a lot of projects.
we gotta stop the can from being kicked down the road. As I've said a million times, like it's, 35 Berkshire, says no update.
Yeah, unfortunately, the homeowner has not returned my calls. My next step was to send out another certified letters asking for an update from him. I'm not sure if he's just not hearing back from the environmental consultant that he hired. That was the last update I had from him.
Okay. Again, if you could reach out for our next meeting. I know I keep pushing on enforcement, but I think it's important that we keep it
Yeah.
high under our radar.
One issue with this site too was that there was contaminated fill, well, not contaminated, but it had junk and trash in it and stuff, right? Is that the one? And if so, we wanted to make sure that it's clean before things start growing. Because it's gonna be harder to see all that stuff if, the more the vegetation there is.
Wasn't it built from like another site?
I think so, but I think there was material in it and some trash and stuff, if I remember. So we don't want to, we want to make sure it's all gone before things start.
I can,
Taking
give them a call, maybe make a site visit.
Yeah, just,
Isn't that the job that they took it out?
well, they said they took it out and they were gonna restore the wetland, but they were gonna have a wetland scientist check the soils and make sure everything was back to normal.
Right.
But if they
Yeah.
didn't remove all the
Didn't get it
soil.
all. Right, okay.
We good? 96 Exchange.
The last update I have from Kent Oldfield was on Monday of last week. Still has not heard from Mr. Zaraz. He thinks he may be on vacation still, and they're not
Where's,
doing any work right now on the site. I've been driving by, nothing's
that's
going on.
still under kind of a cease and desist, nothing, okay.
Since our last meeting, there's been an additional piece of equipment parked on the site, and there's been some ground stakes placed in the excavated area. It looks like a line of work type of thing.
Okay.
And the stockpile materials, the good news is they're starting to stabilize with weeds. They don't look pretty, but at least they're not going to be moving around.
So no work, no physical work of moving material has been done other than the stakes and the new equipment and stuff, so.
Did they send a copy of the filed order or did they not?
Yeah, has that been
Yes,
registered?
I have a copy of the file order that's been registered.
Okay.
But I know that Mr. Oldfield was waiting for, I believe it was Mr. Morrow to go back out and adjust the erosion controls.
Okay.
Did we get the easement? Is that recorded?
The easements were recorded as
It
well.
has been. Progress. Sort of.
Any further discussion? Emergency certifications? Project updates? Budget? Assuming this is your running spreadsheet. It looks like there's $75,298.02 in the wetlands account. And that's as of when?
That I double checked the numbers this morning.
Okay. And this is the sheet you've been tracking with all the fees, things that should be going to it?
Yes.
And, go ahead, sorry.
Is there a way we can like just get a copy from the city? I mean, the city refuses to provide us public information, which is pretty, for an account that is under our name. I mean, I think that's pretty ridiculous. It's unacceptable. I mean, can we just, I don't know, do we vote? I mean, I'd like to see a copy of our actual budget, you know, if it's a hand ledger that, you know,
Right.
a photocopy of it, or I mean, if it's in Munis, just a report. I mean,
Right.
I don't really understand why they're keeping this from us. It doesn't really make any sense. I mean, there's no transparency in this process whatsoever.
Right. We can request it from the controller,
Yeah, I can request the
whether,
meeting.
whether
But we've
they
been
actually,
requesting
I
it
know
for
we have.
years, and we
I know
still
we
haven't
have.
got it.
I don't know what the next step is, I don't know how city finances work. So,
What specifically is not in Munis that we're looking for?
wetlands protection funds,
So the money we take in from the applications.
right. So far in fiscal year 18, we've taken in $6,262.50. And I forget what the last budget number, but this number, adding those two together, it looks like it's, it should be.
So the number, when you say we've taken in, that's the number because our agent's keeping track of it?
That's correct.
And not,
That's, our agents
yeah,
keeping
there's no
track
reason
of.
we shouldn't be able to get that.
Right, and then this is year by year of that same tracking that the agents have been doing.
Mark,
But this is the only budget, which is the budget of,
and we don't show up in that other budget.
no, that's just the operational budget of Conservation Commission, which is not Wetlands Protection Act,
Right.
so. So when the city, if we ask what's in there, it should say $75,298. I do remember last year, Marco, and I forget the exact date, it was probably about a year ago, or maybe it was early fall of last year. He did confirm, and I can't remember how he confirmed it with the controller, that his number matched their number. So we can assume this number is correct, but all it means is our agents tracking incoming application fees, and that's correct, but doesn't match what the city says. So, I don't know how else to do it other than ask the city.
I can request
The
the meeting with
controller.
John. I can also see how Marco got it last time. See what he.
I know, yeah, because he somehow confirmed it. There was never a report given to us, but Marco did confirm that that number matched that
Right.
number.
And one time, it came back 0.
You're right.
And then a month later, money mysteriously returned. So
Right.
we just, it's a very unsettling to know that, we can't even get access to that information. It doesn't seem, doesn't seem appropriate,
In the meantime, continue doing what you're doing, because this is fantastic. I mean, at least it has every NOI and RDA listed there for any filing fees, so at least we're keeping track of it. It'd be nice to have it confirmed by the city, so. Any other discussions on budget? And we can't spend that for a cookout, Paul.
What do other communities do with this? MACC have guidelines
I
for
don't know.
tracking,
For tracking,
wetlands funds?
I've never run into a community that you could just get that answer like with a quick phone call and an email. It's all there. It's usually pretty transparent. I mean, I've met with a number of I've already talked about the issues that we've had here, and nobody's experienced it as far as I'm aware. Well, when I say nobody, I mean I'm talking, like a dozen or so people that.
Sure.
And there's no reason it can't be in Munis that I know of.
Right.
I've seen everything go into Munis. I don't know why that part's separate. Usually the filing fees, the municipalities that are using Munis, that goes right into Munis as well, along with everything else.
Are there other departments within the city that would take filing fees that don't roll over at the close of the fiscal year?
I don't know that.
Or that do roll over? I mean, this money rolls over.
Continues,
I believe
correct?
the
This is a
DPW
revolving
does, for the water, don't they? Isn't there some kind of enterprise fund or something for water
don't
bills?
know.
If there was no other department that had a fund that would just roll over, then I would say, yeah, it makes sense, but there's got to be other departments that have funds that roll over.
I thought there was something with the water department, that the money that they took in was supposed to be kept in that account for infrastructure improvements or something.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
I don't know. If
Strange.
if you can speak with the controller about this, but if you can ask him some of the questions that come up. Why is it not easily available? Why is it not in Munis?
Can we request it be in Munis?
Can we request that be in Munis so you can pull it anytime you so choose?
And that should be available to anybody who lives in the city.
That's correct. I mean, it's all public information.
information.
It's not hidden down, so.
Could we make a request, at least vote on it? I mean, at least it's something.
Who's gonna make the request from them, though? Are we gonna have the chair do that? or our agent, because in the past, the agent hasn't worked.
But we have a new agent.
Well, I don't think it's who the agent is, so I don't think that's the issue.
Yeah,
It's public record, technically anyone can request it, so.
What if we request it as a board?
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, just-
Mr.
But
Chairman.
do we want to figure out exactly what we want to request though? I mean, we just want to balance, fine, but do we want to see history? What do you? what's
I'd like to
everybody
see
looking
some
for?
history. I mean, as far back as, I don't know, as far. I mean, if it's electronic, give us as far back as you have, you know, or 10 years, something. I mean, I don't really understand. I don't understand the secrecy and bookkeeping. It seems like that shouldn't. It should be just transparent. There should be a ledger that has all the, you know, if it's on paper, then you should have a book with every entry. Just make photocopies of it. I don't. I mean, give us what you got, I guess. I'd take it back as far as you can.
The only way to request it is to request it from him, right?
Well, through the mayor, I think because everything has to go through the mayor.
Public records now, what most people are doing is going through the clerk. And then the clerk finds the appropriate person to provide it. So if you're going to request something from the city, technically, I believe you can request it from the clerk. And they have 10 business days to respond. So it's not that hard. I mean, I get a lot of information requests all the time. You just do it.
Oh, yeah, and what you're saying is any resident could actually go to the clerk and request it.
But you want to do it in writing.
Right,
It's-
right,
yeah.
right.
So whether it's an email or some, or a letter or whatever.
Yeah, in the past though, it's been said to me that we can't actually like go to the comptroller directly. We have to go through the mayor to get to the comptroller. It's like that's how it was explained to me when I was the acting agent. It's sort of like if the city council had a question for the commission, you know, they had to go through the mayor and then come to us. It didn't come straight from city council.
When you were acting as the agent,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, you're different there. You're a city employee at that point. So, if somebody wants to control that part of it, they can do it that way. But someone in the public requesting it,
Oh, right. That's definitely right.
So what do we want from the controller? I guess is
I would
go back to your
I would
statement.
say what we would want to get from the controller is a verification of the current balance of the wetland protection funds as of today, a history of the deposit of those wetland funds, at least over the past few years, and a quarterly update, ongoing quarterly update.
And I'd like to see the conservation agent have access to that information as well. I mean, I know that's a request, it's not something we can, but, I mean, it could still be asked. I would say as far back as they can, as he has records.
I have historical ledger,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call it, how far back we can. I mean, someone kept track of it since 1990
Wow.
on this page, so.
That's on our file.
This is ours, but what I'm saying is that information was tracked since, has a beginning date of fiscal year 1990, July 1st, 1990.
And what was the figure then?
0. No, that first year was ended at the end of fiscal year 90 was 3,232. And then it just simply
Yeah.
goes through receipts, appropriations, and then simple balance sheets. So
But the city had been taking in fees long before 1990.
Correct. So that's why I'm just, you know,
Yeah, I would have thought there would have been a
a
balance.
starting balance there, but,
Not a zero.
right. I'm just saying, at least someone's been tracking it at least for 28 years,
Probably for a reason.
so, you know. So right now I have basically a historical ledger of deposits and appropriations as far back as we can get. I would say at least 5 years.
I would say
I would say as far back as we can, but.
as far back as there's been records. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how, you know,
Current balance and quarterly reports.
Yeah, I have verification of current balance and then quarterly updates, reports.
That shouldn't be, I mean, we're not asking for a lot here.
no, they
It could be a
did,
5-minute
right.
thing.
Photocopy of a booklet or a
Yeah.
printout from Munis, however it's. I mean, the money's sitting somewhere. It's gotta be in a bank account or however they do it. It's, you know, and that's what I just don't understand. And it's not like it's,
Yeah.
We could rent our own long-reach excavator.
Yes, for a lot cheaper than that.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Like, that's an option, because that makes a lot of problems.
All right, so someone on this board, is that who we want to make that request through? Meaning me?
From the board.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Do you want that in the form of a motion?
Yes, should we go through the mayor or should we go through the city clerk?
City clerk.
city clerk.
That's what I think. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we request through the city clerk a historical account of the Wetland Protection Fund, the current balance of the same fund as of tonight, and quarterly reports of the wetlands funds on an ongoing basis.
If you want quarterly reports, I mean, you're asking for information that they don't have right now. I think you have to ask for that in the future. I don't think you can get a program that requires that the comptroller or the city clerk is going to give us quarterly reports unless the mayor delegates them to do that. So you can only, in terms of a public record, you can only request what they have today.
Okay,
So
all right then.
Okay,
Historical account and the current balance.
okay. Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right. I will, I'll put something together and I'll send it out to the group for comments, and unless someone wants to write it up, I'll send it out as the chairman of the board, but someone might be a better wordsmith than I, but if you just want to just put something together, and then I'll be the one to make contact with the city clerk and request that information, so. That was a long budget discussion. Agents report, I'm not gonna look at every single one of these, because this is, how many pages, Angela?
It's highly detailed.
6 pages, holy moly.
That's not the agent report, Mr. Chairman, that is the boiler
Oh,
template I just
okay.
provided for everyone. That's
oh,
posted.
okay, I thought that was the agents, did I see some of the agents?
I
Oh, there
did
it
put an
is.
agent report,
There
I
it
believe
is.
it's like 2 or 3 pages.
It's only
long.
2 or 3 pages. You guys got 16 items, so,
It's just collective updates on the site visits I've done, any worthy communications.
okay. Did you give a copy to each member?
I'm emailing it out.
Okay,
It was updated 10
okay.
minutes before you guys said.
Okay, fine. Yeah, most of it here looks like what we've discussed, some ongoing issues and some other things. So yeah, if you could send that out to the entire board, that would be appreciated. And I would like to commend you on doing this, because this is very helpful. If this is something you could continue to update, I think the board would greatly appreciate that.
I'll try to make sure I email it out beforehand.
No, and that's fine. So, very impressive, thank you very much.
In addition to the agent's report, I also provided packets from a conference I went to that discussed different mobile applications that can be used in the field of conservation. And I provided you guys with different applications that are pretty interesting.
It's good stuff.
Those are really
I would assume, Paul, you have these already all on your phone?
Yes, every one of them.
I have.
Actually, some of them, I do have a few of them.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't have them all, but I'll have the rest by
Share them with
tonight.
me.
So, good. This is excellent. Thank you. Make sure this, both of these get emailed, because I may lose a paper copy of some of this. I try to keep it, but. Anything else from the agent's report you'd like to discuss?
No, sir.
All right. I do not have anything to report at this time. Our next meeting is June 5th, 2018, with a filing deadline of May 24th. Is there anything else anybody'd like to discuss? Oh, you said this is the boilerplate?
Yes, I meant to add that with the agent's report. I
Okay.
apologize. If anyone has any additional conditions that they may want to vote on to add to our boilerplates, I do know that it has been changed over time. The things have been taken out. That was an issue with some job sites. So if you want to email them to me the next couple weeks, then I can write up a list and we can vote on them at the next meeting. I'll make it an agenda item.
Yeah, why don't we do that? And if we don't vote, I mean, I think we should all review them and
Yeah, if there's anything.
see if there's anything we want to change or add or delete. That would be great.
And the highlighted parts are just so I remember to change them.
Yeah, so I ask that you guys review them. Hopefully I have a chance to review them all. I know I did it a few years ago, but my memory is like Swiss cheese, got lots of holes in it, so I think it'd be a good opportunity to, if you could put that on the agenda and we'll take a look at it, so. Anything else? All right, I declare this meeting adjourned.